Today, we're looking at Robert Oster Barossa Grape. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Robert Oster's Barossa Grape is, as it sounds, a purple or violet ink. Before we get to the writing samples, let's take a look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies over the years. The first one, the one on the left, is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, I dunk it straight into water, 10 to 15 seconds. We see this really neat purple moving all the way through, but interesting, the very top, we see that line of blue, a nice thick line of blue. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into the water. And it looks exactly the same. There's no change. There's a slightly darker line at the bottom, but that's, I could do 100 chromatographies, and I might get that with some of my immediately ins. It doesn't seem it's got any kind of permanence whatsoever. Now, resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to hold up on paper and how hard it may be to clean out of a pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. What do we get? The highlighter definitely reactivates and spreads that all over the place. It gets kind of gross. It doesn't become unreadable. I would not want that to be how my notes look, so I would not use this as a note taker if I need to highlight. Now, water, I put a drop of water on for 30 seconds, and it severely lifted the ink. There's barely any of it left behind. I think with a little more time, it would all be gone. And the same thing happened for the pen flush. Most all of it is gone. A little bit of that light purple underneath is left. Bleach completely removes it from the page. Now, the good news is this. Water is all that it should take to remove this from the pen. You don't need flush. The flush is not really making a difference in the cleaning it out. Now, this is a bell curve or a normal distribution. For the 365 inks that I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, and the realm of normal goes from 2.1 to 2.9. Robert Oster Barossa Grape has a viscosity of 1.93. That means it is a slightly wet ink. It's wetter than normal. Not something that's, a flow issue in that it's too slow. It's not like it's water, but definitely a wet ink. Now, this bell curve is for the average dry time. For the 365 inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Robert Oster Barossa Grape has an average dry time of 11 seconds. That means that while it's a little bit faster flowing, it also has a little bit faster dry time. So it's a faster drying ink. Not a fast dry, but definitely faster. So how do I find my average dry time? I use my writing samples. I take the average dry time from the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I've got this ink in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, as I always do, I'm using a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub. I'm using a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Looking at Clairefontaine, we have no bleeding, no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no color variation. It's a nice, dark, rich purple, though. With the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shading. None. 7 seconds to dry. But when we go to the medium, it still has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, but look at the shading that does occur in jumps, in overs, in the 10, but not a lot other places. 10 seconds to dry. Looking at the scrubby, the medium shows us we should be getting some shading in the writing. It is not showing up as well on camera. Nope, not showing up well on camera. But we do get some shading in the scrubby, not and a little bit in spots. on the writing. Just like before, I think my thumb might have been there. That might have been what caused it, oils from the finger. But looking at the smear, I could recover this if I smeared it while I was writing. Looking at Tomoe River, I'm aggressive in the scrubby. That's not bleeding. We have no bleeding. We have we have ghosting because it's Tomoe River. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. Extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 12 seconds to dry. It's still a very nice, rich purple. It feels like it's missing something. I can't explain it when I go through these writing samples. It just feels like it's missing something as a purple. 12 seconds to dry. With a medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 20 seconds. If you like purple ink and you don't mind it being very monotone, that's okay. This is an ink for you. Looking at the scrubby, we don't expect to see color variation here. We're not seeing it in the scrub. And on the smear, as normal with Tomoe River, we're not going to be able to recover that. Looking at Rhodia, these two spots aren't even lined up with what's underneath. Their transfer, they're me being sloppy. No bleeding, no ghosting. I know it shows on camera when I say no ghosting. I say no ghosting meaning it doesn't distract. You can live with it. Me being picky, I don't really write on both sides of most paper, but it wouldn't bother me. There's plenty of times I do. Looking at the 1.1, need a sip of water. Thank you. Looking at the 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, but a nice purple. The extra fine, same thing, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. With the medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 11 seconds to dry. We don't expect to be able to get here shading because we're not seeing it in the scrubby. It's the whole reason I do it. What can I expect to see when I go use wetter pens? If I'm not seeing it here and I'm not seeing it here, I don't expect to be able to get it when I do a wetter pen. Even when I'm just taking notes, I hit my mic, I am sorry. Look, this is a Lamy 1.1 and the tone's the same. So the color is the color. So the good thing for this is it's consistent in that way. Looking at TWSBI paper. No bleeding, minor ghosting. With the 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. On the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 8 seconds to dry. I'm going to stay with it's a decent purple. I don't know what it's missing, but it's missing something. Looking at the medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. I'm going to call it no shade because we see a bunch. My thumb is on the paper, and I think that's what keeps happening in this region. So handle that paper and do everything wrong, and you get nice shading. You hear cops going by. 11 seconds to dry. Looking at the scrubby, we can see that even in the wetter pen, I'm not expecting color variation. But on the smear test, I could recover this. So this is not bad for note-taking. Looking at the moleskin paper. I don't know that that's bleeding so much as bleeding out. Is it fair to just call it feathers? Is feathering fair? You would think on the dry right here that I smeared that. That's the ink. On the Barossa, that A went away. So the medium, definite feather, definite spread. No halo, no sheen, no shade. With the extra fine, feathers like you wouldn't believe. Spreads a little bit. This particular moleskin notebook actually performed very well when it came to spread.
this particular one. The other one that I did use through all the writing samples that I've done didn't perform nearly as well. This one performed much better. No sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry, nothing in the scrubby. You could probably recover it in the smear. I would not use this ink on this paper as my walk around. That's what I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Robert Oster Barossa Grape, I would prefer to find an ink that complements it on the page, like Diamine Coral, a beautiful orange ink. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask that if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are here for the first time, I would invite you to subscribe. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do my writing samples. I put it into a different pen and write with it for a day. Then I put it into a Lamy A-Star with a 1.1 stub to take my notes for this video. What do I think of Robert Oster Barossa Grape? This is a nice dark purple ink. It just lacks that pop, that something. It's missing something, and I just can't tell what it is. But it gives a totally consistent color regardless of the nib and regardless of the page. So would I buy a bottle of this ink? Now that's going to come down to if this purple speaks to you. To me it lacks a little something. As a something, I can't figure out what it is. But if you like this purple, this is very well behaved, and it is a great ink. Thanks for watching.